trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. You know we're watching, you know we're listening, you know exactly what we mean. We've had enough of this nightmare. We're standing up for our American dream. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. You know we're watching, you know we're listening, and when that vote comes around again, you know there won't be any question. What you do now will keep you out or keep you in. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. You know we're watching, you know we're listening, as money and power speak to you. Turn away and walk in our direction, 'cause there's more glory in the truth. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. Gonna make good trouble, talking about good trouble. Gonna be good trouble coming your way. We don't agree with your choices, so we'll keep raising our voices, bringing some good trouble to you today. Bringing some good trouble to you today. יהיו רצון ירפי והגיון Adonai tzuri v'goali Yehiyu l'ratzon irefi V'hegion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali Adonai tzuri v'goali May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yehiyu l'ratzon irefi v'hegion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali Adonai tzuri v'goali May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Yehiyu l'ratzon irefi v'hegion libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri v'goali Adonai tzuri v'goali
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom, Temple Beth Israel's. Shabbat Shalom, Claremont Presbyterian Church. Shabbat Shalom, everyone out there in Cyber Shul. Welcome to our Erev Shabbat service, a very special one. And I'd like to turn over to Rabbi Kubitz to tell us about it.
Shabbat Shalom, all. Welcome. It's always wonderful to be together for Shabbat. I especially want to welcome our friends from Claremont Presbyterian Church, and even more especially those who are joining us on our virtual Bima this evening, Pastor Karen and Pastor Brian and the clerk of session of Claremont Presbyterian Church, Teddy Warner. Wonderful to have you all here, and you will all get to see and hear from each of them as the service goes on this evening. We will be, in most years, we have a combined choir of TBI and Claremont Presbyterian Church folk. Obviously, we were not able to get together this year and sing, but we have some past archival footage from last year of our choirs singing together. We'll also be using a piece from Kol HaEmek, our Jewish community chorale, and a piece from Claremont Presbyterian Church's choir that we'll be sharing virtually with all of you. So Shabbat Shalom and welcome. And we're going to begin. If you have a book at home, I'm not going to share these things on the screen when the choir is singing because you're going to see the choir on the screen. But we are on page 24 and with Shalom Aleichem. We are now going to move to blessing our Shabbat lights. I just wanted to say briefly one other thing before we light our Shabbat candles, that in addition to this being our Interfaith Exchange Shabbat, it is National Refugee Shabbat as well. And both of our congregations have been involved in helping to resettle refugees in our area. I'll say a little bit more about refugees in a little while, but as we light these and bless these Sabbath candles, I just think about the many ways in which Temple Beth Israel and Claremont Presbyterian Church transform the darkness that sometimes surrounds us by bringing light, the light of care and of love, the light of passion, the light of justice. And so thankful for the many ways that we work together to improve and bring light to our communities. So I'm going to invite Cantor Paul to lead us in our blessing over our Shabbat lights.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
I'd like to take the opportunity now to, now that the spotlight will change here, there we go, to welcome both the volunteer leaders of each of our congregations, Teddy Warner from Claremont Presbyterian Church and Dina Benjamin from Temple Beth Israel, to offer a few words and greetings. So Teddy, why don't you turn on your camera and your microphone? And there you are.
Thank you, Rabbi Kupitz, for such a warm welcome tonight. We are delighted to be with all of you once again for this historic exchange evening and weekend. With determination and imagination of our leadership from both congregations, we're able to do this during this pandemic years. This opportunity tonight set me to thinking about how and when this all began many years ago. I started looking through our church records and found that there was a comment in 1980 about communication with Temple Beth Israel regarding an exchange weekend in January of 1981. I'm so used to saying 20, it's hard to do that now. Some say that it started in the late 70s, but I'm still kind of sorting that out. When I called around, I heard several stories about the beginning of this relationship. It sounds like it was a process that grew out of anti-Semitism events that were going on in our community. And at the same time, many people from both of our congregations were very involved in a lot of organizations throughout the community and knew each other very well. And so it all coalesced as Reverend Jim Angel and Rabbi Earl Kaplan planned an exchange weekend to build relationships, understanding, and communication, all a part of coming together around our similarities as well as our differences. And if anyone knows any more about our history, I'd love to hear from you. We invite you to join us on Sunday morning at 10 o'clock on Facebook Live. And afterward for our Zoom coffee hour. Both links are on the ClaremontPress.org website. And we apologize for not being able to provide coffee and treats. You'll have to bring your own.
Thank you, Teddy, so much for being with us. Dina?
Thank you, Rabbi. Welcome. And Shabbat Shalom to our Claremont Presbyterian congregants, Temple Beth Israel congregants, choir members, virtual participants, and all of our guests. This is our 43rd annual Interfaith Exchange service. My name is Dina Benjamin. I'm the president of TBI. And for the past 43 years, these two houses of worship have been connected in a multitude of ways. But the one that really speaks to me is one that the rabbi just mentioned, and that is our communal support of the local refugee community. Perhaps it was fate, Beshert, as we might say, that placed our interfaith Shabbat on the same day as Refugee Shabbat weekend. Or perhaps it was just the only weekend that worked for everyone. Who knows? Either way, it gives me an opportunity to applaud the wonderful refugee assistance efforts of both of our religious institutions. Welcoming the stranger is not just a common phrase in both the Bible and the Torah, although it does appear 36 times. It is a way of living. It is what drives many of our congregants to make the world a better place, to make our country more welcoming to newcomers, and to form sacred bonds with cultures that are new to us. Over the past few years, Claremont Presbyterian and TBI have worked together with local nonprofits like Claremont Canopy and Newcomers Access Center to help dozens of refugee families. And now that the U.S. government is planning to increase the refugee cap, we hope to help even more. In addition, both of our congregations have hosted iftars, which are meals after fasting during Ramadan, and taken part in annual interfaith walks for peace as part of the Claremont Interfaith Council's multi-faith efforts. When we're all able to gather again safely together in person, I look forward to our continued participation in these programs. It's because of long-standing relationships like ours that we're able to connect with each other, learn from one another, and help repair the world, Tikkun Olam, as we call it. I'm very proud of this partnership, and on behalf of TBI, I thank you all for joining us, and welcome to our Shabbat services tonight. Shalom.
Thank you, Dina. Whoop, I don't have my camera on. Thank you, Dina. And I'm going to turn it back over to Cantor Paul to introduce another piece of music.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'm going to share with you a piece that is the text of which comes from the opening of our Kabbalat Shabbat service, our introductory verses from Shabbat, L'chu Naranana, come let us rejoice. And it's going to be shared with you by a group called Kol HaEmek. Kol HaEmek translates from the Hebrew to Voice of the Valley, and it was a choral group that was started by a couple of TBI members, Rita Warshaw and Diane Schuster, a number of years ago, along with some help from our Jewish Federation, to unite the Jewish community of the San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys in a musical collaboration, something that went beyond what each congregation in our area was doing individually. So they've been singing together for, I believe, a little over 10 years. Done some wonderful things together, and they were really happy that I asked that this contribution of L'chu Naranana be included in our Shabbat service this evening. So here's Kol HaEmek with L'chu Naranana.
So we now will, in a moment, continue with Lecha Dodi as we continue to welcome the Shabbat. And this piyut, this poem, envisions the Shabbat as a bride who is walking into a wedding, and the community greets the Sabbath. But before we join in these words, we take a moment, as is our tradition at TBI, to reflect on the week that has passed, to spend a moment on each day, its challenges and its blessings, and then we'll join in singing Lecha Dodi. You can take a deep breath, to be present in the Shabbat, to leave the week behind, and everything that has been, and now we are in this moment. We will join in verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to verse 9, it's customary to face the door to the place that you are, in this case, your home, to welcome the Shabbat presence, the nishama yetera, the extra soulfulness that travels with us during Shabbat, into your home and into your heart. Lecha Dodi.
Had we been able to gather physically at Temple Beth Israel this evening, as it is the first Friday of the month of March, we would more than likely have been joined by our TBI Shul Band, something that's happened a number of times over the years, and I think something our friends at CPC particularly enjoy. So since we can't have them with us, I thought at least I would use the melody for Lecha Dodi, which could be familiar to our CPC friends as well. And it goes something like this. Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamiuchan, Adonai echad, Ushmo echad, V'shemo tiferet v'litchila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lichuven elcha ki mekor habracha merosh mikadem nisucha tzva'aseh b'machshavat tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala panei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, ki Yivarech Kumi Ori Uri Uri Shidaberi Kevod Adonai Alayich Nigla Lechadodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela Lechadodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela Boi v'shalom Ateret bala Gam b'simcha Uv'tzola Toch emunei Am segula Boi chala Boi chala Lechadodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela Lechadodi Likrat Kala Penei Shabbat Nikabela.
So every Shabbat, we make Kiddush. We bless, we sanctify the day over a cup of juice or wine. And when we lift our cup, we remember our ancestors' exodus from Egypt, Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim. As we recall that ancient journey from slavery to freedom, we think also of the many times throughout our history that our people have wandered in search of safety. From Tsarist Russia to the horrors of the Holocaust to persecution in Iran, the former Soviet Union, Cuba, Ethiopia, and beyond. Time and again, we have found ourselves forced out. We have found ourselves, forced out of our homes for being who we are. But each time we were held together by community and assisted by those who risked their safety in protection of ours. We continued to survive against all odds as our hearts grew to hold others who would come to experience what we had. And so it is that we help resettle refugees into our community, in our community today. Recalling our exodus from Egypt, the Torah tells us, you know the soul of the stranger. Just as the Jewish people have found sanctuary in America, so too do today's refugees of all faiths and ethnicities as they rebuild their lives and become a part of their new communities. And now, a little music.
A song by Julie Silver. When one of us is suffering, we all feel pain. When one of us is stumbling, we fall again and again. All of us are slaves until all of us are free. Everyone needs sanctuary. When some of us go hungry, all of us can't eat. When words don't mean enough to us, we pray with our feet. We pray for the dreamers who pray for you and me. We can be their sanctuary. So let us set a table wide and long, where everyone has plenty and everyone belongs, where everyone everyone agrees to disagree underneath this canopy. I will be a shelter open on all sides. I will take you in and stand by your side, no matter where you come from or where you'd rather be. I will be your sanctuary. Where everyone agrees to disagree underneath this canopy. So stand up and sing. Let your voices ring. Bring what you can bring and be a sanctuary. Try and sing that with us. So stand up and sing. Let your voices ring. Bring what you can bring and be a sanctuary. Everybody now. So stand up and sing. Let your voices ring. Bring what you can bring and be a sanctuary. So stand up and sing. Let your voices ring. Bring what you can bring and be a sanctuary.
We continue with Chatzi Kaddish. If you have a book at home, it's on page 26.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'almad yifrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chai yechon u'v'yom echon u'v'chayei dechol bet Yisrael Bagala Uvisman Kariv Veimeru Amen Yehei Shemei Rabbam Mivarach Lelam Ulalmei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnasei V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha Berichu Le'ela min kol birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiran Be'alma V'yimeru Amen.
We rise in body or in spirit for our call to prayer, Baruch Hu, page 28.
Lai la la lai la lai la la lai. Lai la la lai la lai la la lai. Lai la 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 lai la 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 lai. Lai la 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 lai la la lai. Lai la 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 lai la 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 lai. Lai la 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 lai lai lai. Baruchu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Hamevorach leolam vaed. Hamevorach, Hamevorach leolam vaed.
We affirm the Holy One and connect ourselves to the unity of all creation. Join in singing Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Picking up where the arrow's pointing here, Lema'an tizkaru in the Hebrew.
Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kadoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, Emet.
Amen. So I'd like to invite Pastor Brian to, there he is, turn on his camera and his microphone and share a reading with us that will introduce our prayer for freedom, Micha Mocha.
Yes, what a gift and a blessing to be with you all. Thank you for inviting us again in such a historical relationship. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event, so we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being with us.
Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lo osei felech mi kamocha bailim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lo osei felech Malchutcha ra'u vanecha Volkeam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam Ze'eli anu Ve'amru Adonai Mloch le'olam va'ed Mi chamocha Bailim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lo osei felech norati lo osei felech norati lo osei felech V'ne'emar Ki fadar Adonai et Yaakov Ugalo me'ad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Where my arrow is pointing in the Hebrew, page 42.
Ushmor tzetenu voenu lechaim ulshalom me'ata ve'ad olam Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu sukat shalom aleinu Ve'al kol amo Yisrael Ve'al Yerushalayim.
And now another piece of music to share.
Well, before I start it, just let me say this is a gift to us from the Claremont Presbyterian Church Choir. I thought it was a good lead-in to our Amidah, to the core liturgy of our service. It's called Open My Eyes.
Wonderful
We continue with our Amidah. We rise in body or in spirit.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia. Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem. Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofe cholim, Umatir asurim, Umkayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, melech meimid umchayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch hu Baruch Shemo.
Ha'el HaKadosh. Please take a few moments for silent prayer for the texture of your own heart, and then we will have a musical offering from Dr. Randy Polivoy. Shabbat Shalom, Dr. Polivoy.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom to everybody out there who's listening. I also want to personally welcome Claremont Presbyterian Church to our annual Interfaith Exchange this year. Look forward to the time when we can return to physically meeting together. The tune I'm going to play has traditionally been played around Thanksgiving time, but I think the message of the song with its themes of friendship and fraternity apply to tonight's service as well, and to the long-standing and very cordial relationship we've developed over 40 years between TBI and CPC. So here is We Gather Together.
Thank you so much.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. All right. I am going to share the prayer book with all of you again. We're going to turn to our prayer for healing. And let me turn on my camera here because obviously I can't be seen. There we go. Turn to our prayer for healing. And I have a list of TBI folk who are on our healing list, and people always add names to the chat on Facebook. So I also invite those of you here from Claremont Presbyterian, if you have people that you're thinking about, to add them in the chat as well. This version of Mishaberach, we have Elna Rifana La, that the words Moses spoke to about his sister Miriam. God, please bring her healing. And we hold in our hearts all of those in our lives in need of healing of body, of mind, and of spirit.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu yivarech ar hacholim Hail na Rifana El na Rifana la El na Rifana El na Rifana lo.
We ask for blessings upon Rebecca Gilman, Bela Pasternak, Hannah Fields Austin, Sue Toback, Alicia Goldfarb, Paula Steinbach, Rosalind Lefkowitz, Helen Weinfeld, Gabrielle Silton, Pam Poliakoff, Connie Shapiro, Kathy Blumenfeld, Gloria Austin, Caitlin Antrim, Judith Bosworth, Kathy Brewster, Stephanie Holland, Jennifer Rudin, Susan Groer, Charity Razade, Ed Ansell, Marion Snyders, Kimberly Zimmerman, Lori Snyder, Brad Holland, Isley Holland, Mike Klein, Beatrice Caden, Meg Silton, Henry Gerard, Kirby Perkins, Brenda Found Gerard, Serena Postal, Nancy Brewster, Bobby Kay, Dan Ione, Bonnie Stead, Liz Fields, Jerry Binstock, Marilyn Freeman, Robert Strober, Ava Bespris, Robin Goichenberg, Marilyn Lubarski, Joe Kummerman, Agnes Magaha, Shar Alpert, Carol Sage, Lynn Wenbrandt, Flo Cohen, and Ellery Einstein, and Ira Quatcher.
El na Rifana El na Rifana la El na Rifana El na Rifana lo.
Once again, Shabbat Shalom. As Reverend Sapio and I were meeting and talking about what we would talk about this year, both here and on Sunday at Claremont Press, we've, of course, this year more than anything else has been shaped by the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we chose to share words that would reflect on what has happened in this last year. We're just, at least for TBI, about a week short of a year since we closed down in-person events. And so the question we are kind of addressing today is some lessons that we've learned in this last year and what from our own traditions has helped to strengthen and sustain us. And there is so much, and I'm just going to share a few, aware of the time this evening. Some of the things I've learned. Gratitude. Gratitude is deeply ingrained and in Jewish tradition. We are supposed to say 100 blessings a day, not to take anything for granted. In Judaism, there's a blessing for everything, for having a sip of water, for the different, obviously the different prayers in the service, when you eat bread, after a meal, when you see a rainbow, when you meet somebody who's wise, all of these things. And the underlying message, I think, is don't take things for granted. We wake up in the morning, the first thing we're supposed to say is, Modeh ani lifanecha melech chai v'kayam. Thank you, I stand before you filled with thanks for returning my soul to me, for allowing me to live another day. But I know that personally, often I don't take the time to offer gratitude for the mundane things, the ordinary things in life. But they've certainly been reshaped for me this year. A touch or a hug, being able to sing together, the ability just to be in groups with others, the opportunity to send my kids off to school, so many everyday activities. I've grown to view all of these things with a deeper sense of gratitude. And I know that I won't think of any of these things in quite the same way again. I've learned that we are incredibly resilient. Jewish life, of course, has faced crises and had to be recreated often throughout our Jewish history. And this last year, we have learned to create community in new ways. Community online through worship and classes and Beit Sefer, our religious school, and other gatherings. We've found ways to let each other know that we care through phone calls and challah deliveries and soup for the ill, showing up for each other, even virtually. We found ways to mourn with each other, to support each other through loss, and there has been so much loss, but also to celebrate with one another in reimagined ways, b'nai mitzvah, weddings, baby namings, engagements. We have also continued to live out the obligations of our tradition through supporting our neighbors in need, through being that light I talked about at the beginning of the service, to supporting those who are more vulnerable, even more vulnerable than ourselves, but collecting food and making donations and volunteering, and our upcoming mitzvah week during Passover to support, coming up to Passover to support the community around us. Temple Beth Israel's newsletter is called Kehila, the Kehila. Kehila is a Hebrew word that means community. It was also actually that the organized Jewish communities in much of the world were known as the Kehila, in the place that they were, the community. And I think we've learned just how important our communities are to us. And here I say communities, I think here at TBI, we've learned how important our TBI community is to us, but also the other communities that we are part of, the extended communities we are parts of. We've been called to step up and to help sustain Temple Beth Israel and other institutions in our community that we see as being so critical. And so many have supported us and other institutions through this period of COVID. And I think lastly, we've come to understand that each of us has so much to give. That if last year perhaps we thought that what we could do might not really make a difference, this year we've come to understand that just being able to make a phone call and reach out can be huge when we're isolated from one another in our homes. And we've seen the volunteerism in our community grow so much. Rabbi Tarfon in Pirkei Avot, in the sayings of the sages, says, "Lo alecha hamlaha ligmor, v'lo ata lihibatel mimena." It is not up to you to finish the work, but neither are you free to refrain from it. We have much work to do. There has been much work done. Let our hands be hands of blessing, and our hearts be hearts of kindness and generosity. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And I'd like to call on Reverend Sapio to share her thoughts on lessons learned and how the tradition has sustained her and her community this year.
Well, thank you, Rabbi Jonathan. It's great to be back together, even though it's in a different way than what we have been used to. And so I think it is a bit ironic, maybe, that not ironic, but just a coincidence, maybe, that this exchange is taking place here in early March, where, as you said, we're marking a year almost since this began, the COVID shutdown began. In fact, tomorrow is sort of my personal coronaversary. I had been last year at this time, I had been away at a conference. I flew back to Southern California on the 5th. And then on the 6th, one of the members of our session, someone on our church board, was in my office saying, one, I don't think that you or Brian should go to any conferences for the next little while out of town anymore. And that B, we should probably make plans for if we have to maybe cancel worship for a few weeks. And I thought, wow, she's overreacting, but here we are. So it's been quite a journey, and I know it's been a journey for your community as well. And it's not just been COVID, right? It's been the whole journey that we've had with this pandemic, but also laced in with that, braided into it, was all the events of the summer, which revealed how much work we have to do as communities of faith to do anti-racism work in our communities. And then, of course, it was a year of great political upheaval, which led to terrible things happening in Washington, which also revealed that anti-Semitism is certainly alive and well. There was a lot of that involved in the attack on the Capitol. So it's been sort of layer upon layer of calamity and things to be worried about and things to be concerned about and things to lament and things to mourn and things to adjust to. And so, but just as Jonathan said, I think we have both of our communities have been able to dig into that deep well of our traditions and find strength. And so I thought I would just share two stories from the Christian tradition that we've been working with, or that I've been trying to communicate to folks as this goes on. And of course, for Christians, we have the arc of death and resurrection, which always tells us that death doesn't have the last word. So as we were surrounded by so much death and by the powers of death, we have been trying to name where we see life and where we can be part of, as Jonathan said at the beginning of the service, light and life, and bearing witness to light and life in the midst of death. And then the other story that I've personally found meaningful is the story that we share, our two traditions, and that is the story of exile. I think when we all went into COVID, it almost felt like we'd been taken away from our familiar world, our familiar routines. We just sort of been exiled from life as we knew it. And we all kept hoping that it was going to be over soon. We found out we were going to have to miss Easter in the sanctuary. You all found out you were going to have to miss Passover, but surely we'd be back by May. Surely we'd be back by sometime in the summer, certainly by the time school started in the fall. And I think it was around the time it became clear to me that we weren't going to be back in the fall, that the words of the prophet Jeremiah came to me, and then the words that he spoke in the midst of exile, saying, hey, you know what? Settle in, build houses, plant gardens, get married. We're going to be here for a while. Figure out how you can be a blessing, how you can be concerned for the welfare of the people around you, because we're going to be in this situation for a while. And we need to be God's people right here where we are, instead of just counting down the days till it will all be over. And as we kind of go back and forth, I think we're going to do this a lot in the next few months between, oh, it's getting better. Oh, maybe not. There's a new variant. Oh, the vaccines are here. Oh, but they're not enough. We have to listen to those words of Jeremiah again. Just, be God's people right where you are, right in these circumstances. It will be over at some point, but for right now, we need to be God's people for this moment. And that's what I'm relying on. And that's what I remember every day when I get up in the morning.
Thank you so much for sharing those beautiful words. And it's always a special pleasure to share our Bima with you and with Brian and with Teddy, with people from Claremont Presbyterian Church. Many of you know that I think that the two of us are the longest the active clergy that are at least active in our interfaith council, along with Cantor Bush, that we've been serving our communities for the longest of the communities in the area, and so we've had this opportunity to build this relationship over a long time, and it is certainly something that I count myself blessed to have a relationship with you, Karen, and with Claremont Presbyterian Church. So thank you for being here with us tonight. We are going to now turn to another piece of music from Claremont Presbyterian Church. I'd like to invite Laura Nemeth, member of our Board of Trustees, just to share some announcements with the congregation. Hi, Lauren. Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, just to reiterate, thank you so much for the Claremont Presbyterian Church for being a part of our service. It was really wonderful. Thanks to the rabbi for leading such a thoughtful service, and for all the people that participated, Teddy Warner, Pastor Brian, Reverend Sapio, and Dina for saying some words at the beginning. Really, really nice. Also, thanks as always to Cantor Paul and Randy Polavoy for the beautiful music, and to the Claremont Presbyterian Church Choir. Shout out, my daughter had Mr. McKenzie, her 5th grade science teacher, was part of the choir, and it was very exciting here to see him up there. So thank you so much for all of you who joined us tonight. All right, there's a few or a bunch of upcoming events. I'll let you know about a few. So next week, Saturday, March 13th at 7:15 is a virtual magic night. There's a great magician coming. It is free to the TBI members and their guests. Donations are definitely appreciated. And see the TBI updates for the link. Okay, for the next few, please make RSVPs to the TBI office or to Beth Parker at bparker@tbipomona.org. And that's for these next few things. Dina Lane is offering a Hebrew reading level 1 class that begins on Sunday, March 7th from 1 to 2. Let's see, there's insights and options for a more meaningful Passover with Rabbi Kupitz and Cantor Bush on Tuesdays, March 16th and 23rd at 7:15 p.m. via Zoom. And also coming up, Coming Home, Jewish Immigration to Israel, taught by Professor Gary Gilbert on Wednesdays, March 31st and April 7th and 14th at 7:15 via Zoom. So that's coming up. And lastly, my plug, we're planning a car show on Sunday, June 13th in the TBI parking lot based on COVID mandates at the time. And please let us know if you know anyone that would like to be a vendor or a sponsor for the event. We're also looking for volunteers. So please contact myself or Phil Mendelson and check the TBI updates for more information on that. All right, so lots of stuff. Anything else you want to know about, check the website at tbipomona.org. Check us out on Facebook, read the Kahila, or check the weekly updates via email. Again, thanks to the church for joining us, and have a great week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Lauren. Thank you so much. Cantor Paul, do you have anything you need to add?
I don't think so. I think Lauren covered it quite extensively. Look forward to seeing everybody at those events. I do, of course, I think of something at the last minute. Just to emphasize, in both the TBI updates and in the Kahila, you'll find a listing of Passover events, the Congregational Seder, the second night of Passover, March 28th. We will be on Zoom together as one community, and that does require you just register for the Zoom, so you get the link that way. So please just click on the links that you're sent in the email. If you have any questions or any problems, we can help you at the office. Just let us know. We don't want anybody to be alone for second night, and I believe Rabbi has something to share possibly about some first night stuff. So, Rabbi?
So I would just say that, first of all, we'll send out lots of materials and things, opportunities for first night, but also I'm going to send out a note to folks just asking if there's people who are having virtual Seders who might invite others to join them for their Seder, and that if we have congregants who don't have a Seder to be a part of for the first night, that we can match them with you. So that's another opportunity. So please let us know. You can send an email to the TBI office or to me if you're willing to open another virtual seat at your Seder. And also let us know if you're looking for a place for the first night when we don't have a communal Seder. And we're going to now move toward the conclusion of our service. Aleinu L'Shabeach. If you have a book at home, it's 282 in the middle of the page.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Rabbi, you're muted.
Thank you. We now take a moment to remember those who have been important in our lives and have left this earth, those who have died in recent days or at this time in years past. Some of you may have heard, and most of you probably have not, that Doug Austin died yesterday. There will be a notification going out to the congregation tomorrow. Funeral will take place on Wednesday at 2 p.m. The notification that goes out tomorrow will include Zoom links so that you can participate via Zoom in the funeral. So we send our deepest condolences to Doug's family, to his wife Liz, his kids, Hannah and Lexi, and to their large extended group of family and friends, to all of them. On this Shabbat, we observe the yortzites of anniversaries of the deaths of Neil David Baker, Louis Eckstein, Edward Gillespie, Terry Merkin, Frederick Mooney, Flora Oliver, Lizzie Purvis, June Singer, Harriet Wish Gussman, Harold Edelberg, Robert Austin, Estelle Greenberg, Norman Kaplan, Betty Lutsky, Pauline Manilowitz, Thomas Marchese, Mary Master, Burnett Mullen, Dorothy Smukler, Lena Shapiro, Sissy Serko, Edith Steinberger, Betty Starr Sugarman, Esther Baker, Rachel Berliner, Frida Goldman, Gertrude Moeller-Elsky, Edith Davis, Rose Fandel, Bonnie Franklin, Faye Goldman, Rose Grossman, Edith Lesser, Rochelle Smith, Fred Bamberger, Barry Blatt, Alan Ellis, Louis Fagelis, David Kornblue, Milton J. Rosenthal, Sidney Shapiro, Jack Wildenberg, Andrea Braver, Sue Karen Cherryhome, Myron Sanford Feinstein, David James Heisler, Iran Carmen, Rose Katz, Goldie Lefkowitz, Dorothy Rosnick Jenoff, Sam Rosenfeld, Miriam Satin, Saul Schenfeld, Ernst Silton, Abraham Cutler, Max Joseph Davis, Lee Larder, Morris, Phil Schachter, Donna Schwartz, Bernice Storch, and Nachmi Hammer. If you have others who you're thinking about, please feel free to mention them in the chat, and of course we hold them in our hearts and minds. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayachon u'v'yomachon u'v'chaye decho Beit Yisrael, bagala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dukudasha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen.
Amen.
Zichronam livracha, may their memories always be for a blessing. And we are going to close as we usually do with Biyado, but this time Biyado from last year's Interfaith Exchange with the joint choirs. And then after that, please stick around for Kiddush and Motzi.
So this is the touchy-feely portion of our service. Feel free, if you're comfortable, to get connected to your neighbor. I want to say another thank you, another shout out to Randy Colboy, Chris Gacci for their instrumental accompaniment, and to our wonderful singers who worked so hard in such a short time to be able to provide the music this evening. Adon
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom and Cyber Shul. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Big crowd tonight. Thank you, everybody who's out there.
So, unfortunately, we don't get to join in the sanctuary for food.
We
But
can do
we-
it in our
but we
in
will,
our hearts.
We will join in blessings right now. So here we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu vacharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava uvratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, V'kadesh HaShabbat. Chaim.
L'chaim. And now we're going to bless our bread. I have a little piece here from our challah this evening, and Cantor Paul will be grabbing
I have a
the
whole
challah from over there, the whole challah. There we go.
Everybody reach out and touch, try and touch the bread. Start together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Again, thank you so much for being with us. Please join us on Sunday morning, Claremont Presbyterian Church Facebook page, as we join them in their worship service. Again, Lehitraot, till we see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Shabbat Shalom.